Hi, fans of trumpet playing. Thanks for joining me today. We're looking at number 12 in Nathan Ost's miniature etudes for trumpet. This is an interesting one. I'm not sure quite what to think of it, so I'm going to have to explore it, and the best way to do that is just play through. So please allow me to do that for you right now, and then we'll see what we can find in it to maybe improve all of our trumpet playing. Okay, let's see. It says 76. Okay. Well, as I've said many times before, I'm always looking for the music, and I'm having a little trouble with this one. It seems to me that the main thing carrying the music is the harmony. Other than that, it's obviously very repetitive. So I try and draw the listener's attention to what is carrying the music. And I honestly, when I played this, I was thinking, of course, I shouldn't be thinking when I'm playing for you, but I'm always thinking. So when I played this, it's like, oh, yeah, I should, I wish I could play piano, because I would explore the different harmonies that seem to be implied by this. To me, it's pretty simple. So if I look at the beginning, and I'm not, I avoided harmony and music theory and form analysis as much as possible when I was in school. I'm not saying that you should do the same. I just wasn't interested in it. I was very interested in learning how to play, which I managed to do. I'm grateful for that, but I missed a lot of essential musical skills. One of them is harmony. So, but I can tell from listening to this, if I play the first bar, so it sounds like F minor to me. Okay, then what does it do next? Now it sounds like D flat major. Okay. Now it sounds like A flat major. And what does it end up in? Maybe E flat? Now, I loved the former pianist with the Boston Pops. He was a wonderful guy. He's deceased now. His name is Bob Winter, and he was one of the great jazz players that nobody ever knew about. He was a general business player and an amazingly talented guy. He could improvise anything, and he had so many styles floating around in his mind. It was just inspiring to listen to him play. He put out a couple of albums, and you might be able to find them if you look carefully, in which he just simply sat at a piano and played for an hour without stopping, moving from one great classic tune, out of the American songbook to another one. Now, why am I bringing that up? Because I'm hearing, if he heard this melody, there's not only the implied harmonies that I told you, which I think are probably accurate, but he would have all kinds of other ideas, substitutions, dissonances, all kinds of different styles. And that's, for you folks out there who are jazz improvisational artists, this is what you need to experiment with. For those of you who are classical players, you want to hear the harmonic context. And here's just one reason why. You keep on coming back to that A flat. Okay, so I have F minor, and I just played a melodic minor scale, and you should know all your forms of minor, obviously. Have them in your fingers and in your ears. Now, when I did that, what is the A flat? The A flat's a minor third. Now, what about the next harmony? Oh, if I'm in D flat major, now the A flat's the fifth. So that same note has changed function in the harmony. Now, some of you already know this. And if you know it, great. But what you want to do is listen for it. And the better you get at listening for where the note should be in the harmony that you're playing, the better you're going to play in tune. Now, there's physical aspects to playing in tune, but this is just about listening. When you hear where the note should be, the chances are much better that you're going to put it there. Even if you're not playing efficiently, at least you're going to put the note where it belongs, and nobody will notice that there's any problem. It'll sound right. This is also really important when you're playing with others, such as like in a brass quintet or even a larger ensemble like a band or an orchestra. Everybody who's experienced is putting those notes where they belong in the harmony. They're not just playing it correct with the tuner. There is no such thing, because correct with the tuner is just standard pitch, whatever you set. My tuner is set to 441, I think. And it tells you what that note is at standard pitch. It doesn't tell you anything about the context. So, sorry for the harmony lesson, but I want to suggest that you need to listen for this. So if I could do it, I would have played this at the piano with the harmony. If some of you have that ability, and I know some of you who may see this who do have that ability, play the harmony, lay down a piano track for yourself, and then play in tune with the piano track. Now, don't get me wrong, I realize the piano is a well-tempered instrument. It doesn't sound the same as playing in tune, in harmony with a chamber group like a brass quintet. That can be pure, just intonation, which is the best way to play. It's the way we should be playing most of the time when we're playing with other musicians. But just having the piano as a reference is great. So what would be the problem? Why am I spending so much time talking about this? Yes, good question, Steve. Okay, I'll explain it. My ear hears that there's a right place to put that if it's a minor third. However, in the next bar, now it has to be quite a bit higher. As a matter of fact, in just intonation, I think I'm correct in saying that it's about 17/100ths of a tone, which is significant, higher than the tuner will tell you. That when the tuner tells you it's in tune, it has to be higher than that. Why? Because it's the fifth of a chord. And that's where it fits. It's just physics, basically. Now, your goal is to hear that. So a good practice would be if you put a drone on the A flat, well, the harmony changes. You're going to play in tune with the drone, but you won't be in tune with the implied harmony in the piece. And that's basically what I'm getting at here. So sorry to spend so much time on music theory since, as I said before, I don't really like music theory. But I do like it when it helps me to be a better player. So it really bugged me on this one because as I'm playing, I realized, well, I got some difficult fingerings in the second bar. If I'm not putting that D flat, which is the root of the chord, by the way, if I'm not putting that in the right place, and it's the least in tune note on most trumpets, I'm going to have to use the slide probably to get that into tune. There are different ways of doing it. I've talked about that in other videos. But let's say you're just using your slide diligently. It's dee da dee dee da dee. You have to get the slide out. And then bring it back in again because you're playing that A flat. This is very annoying. So practice it to become more comfortable, to gain greater facility to feel like, oh, that's part of the fingering. So you're not swearing and complaining about how difficult it is. If it's difficult, just probably just you haven't worked on it enough in order to smooth out the rough edges. And it is an awkward thing to do. I'm not claiming that it's natural or easy. There are easier ways to play in tune instead of just using the slides all the time, but that's for a completely different discussion. I think I've given you way too much music theory today. But I'm going to mention one more thing, and this has to do with music expression. When you have something that's repeated, I'm going to play it straight. So that was pretty straight. What do I mean? The notes are pretty much at the same volume. They're pretty much in a rhythmic groove. They're tight. There's not a lot of flexibility in the time. The timbre, the color of the sound doesn't change very much. The attacks are pretty similar. All those are great goals. Work on that until you can do it. But that doesn't give you much musical expression. So what I'm going to suggest is make a pattern that goes somewhere. So what I'm hearing is a 4-bar phrase. It's the phrase of the harmonic change that I talked about before. That's the complete musical idea. So I'm always going there. How am I going to get that feeling? I'm going to make a shape. So I'm going do do dee 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 do do dee, and I exaggerated do do dee do do dee do do dee. So I'm making a wave which peaks very subtly on the 3rd beat. This is just something that I'm hearing. You know, there's thousands of other ways that you could do it. You could start it always stronger. Dee do dee do 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 do dee. That's perfectly legitimate. It just gives a different feeling. But the main thing, and this is why I'm stressing this, is you don't get the feeling that it's mechanical and flat, because it has a sense of movement, because you're showing a shape, a wave, a very natural thing. It happens in nature. So let me try it that way. So you see, I hope you see the idea. Now that was pretty subtle. It wasn't great. I would work on it more until I became convinced, because I just thought of this idea. So what's the key? I always come back to the same starting point, and I move through. I could do a gradual crescendo through the whole line and then just drop back a little bit. That would be easier. Let me try that on the next section, starting in bar 9. So that time I gradually increased through the bar. This is great stuff to practice because it makes you more musically aware. And musicians who play instruments on which it is easier to make music, which is most instruments other than trumpet, do these things naturally. Listen to any pianist, and on the pianoforte, this becomes a big part of the expression. There's very, very subtle changes in musical intensity, both in terms of the color, the articulation, and of course the dynamics. So if this is something you're not interested in, well, probably you stopped watching a long time ago. Go do something that holds your attention. But otherwise, if it is something you're interested in, go and work on it. And you could do it in the simplest context, just playing routine exercises like the Clark studies or scales. Just play a shape. That's all I'm suggesting. It makes the music a lot more fun, and you'll find that it also helps you physically to relax because you're releasing the breath to go somewhere. All right, go somewhere. I'll go somewhere else, and I'll meet you back here when you have some time. Have a great day. Bye-bye.